Good morning, everyone. I believe everyone is right here and you can hear me. So if you can hear me, just type in the message so that I will know that we are all here. Type your message in the chat box so that I will know you can hear me. Xavier, can you hear me? If you can hear me, type in the message box so I'll know that you can hear me. Okay, fantastic. So any other person there that can hear me, please type so that I'll know that it's not just about me and Xavier. In 30 minutes, we will be out of here and we need to just so that we can get prepared for the lesson that will happen after now. So if you can hear me, just type a message in the chat. Of course, we can see chats right now, so we couldn't chat here last week, but we can chat here right now. So send your message here, and so I will know that you're here with me. Not in the WhatsApp group, here in the YouTube chat. Okay. Okay, seems it's me and Faith Savior that is here. So let's just wait for them to join so that we can actually start. Okay, good morning. Okay, Aziz is here. Okay, okay. All right, good morning. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll wait for maybe one more person, then we can start. Okay, I think it's time because let's just okay, so based on what we actually talked about last week, do anybody have any questions for us before we um, talk about what we want to talk about today? Any questions based on what we talked about last week? Okay, as this on your okay, all right. Any questions before we move on? So let's see if we have questions that we need to look into before we dive into what we just want to discuss today. It's going to really be brief, like we all know that. Okay, what's your question, Savior? Savior, you said my question. So what's your question? I'm waiting for your question. Xavier, what's your question? Okay. If Akolade, can you still hear me? Xavier, can you still hear me? I want to be sure I'm not the only person here. If you can still hear me, just type your message in the chat. Okay, Akolade can still hear me. Fantastic. Maybe Xavier is dropped. Okay, I will just get onto it. Okay, fantastic. All right, good. That you. Okay, I know that uh, there are so many myths, right, when it comes to the issue of someone being software developer or someone coming into software development or you learning or having the skill of software development. Okay, all right. So Xavier said, how do you divide your day in and still meet up? Okay, to task. Okay, fantastic. Okay, now if I will answer that question, 24 hours is not even enough for you to meet up your day, right? But the most important thing, and what I believe will really help, is for you every day have a checklist. I will show us something here. Now, if you look at this, I have this jotter, which is kind of like a checklist for me on a day to day. Aside this, I have an online note in which I have the checklist. So once I am done, yes, you can ask any questions. So let me conclude this, but you can drop the question so I'll pick it once it's there. So I have an online, what do you call it? Like an online checklist that I have, right? So for day one, I'll have the main goal for that day and a checklist for me to get to that goal that I set for that particular day, right? Because there are so many things for us to be done, right? And it's easier for you to get lost in doing nothing, right? Getting busy, get busy doing nothing, and why the things that you ought to do are undone, right? So the only way is for you to have a checklist, right? For each day, you have the big goal, then you have the smaller goals that will make you hit the big goal. Then you can check it. And if you're unable to complete all the checklist for that day, then you know that, okay, tomorrow I will start from here. Then you have the checklist for that tomorrow, right? So before tomorrow, you have the checklist for tomorrow today. So you'll be able to measure up. That if you do that, I believe that you will be able to meet maybe about 90% of your target each day. So, because naturally, as human, we want to just get busy doing nothing, right? So, but when you know that, okay, I have to meet this, and this today, then you go there. Once it's done, you check it, done. Once it's done, go there, check, done. So, with that, we will be able to do as much as possible in 24 hours, even though that 24 hours is not enough. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. Okay, so if yes, I have a system to create a table in React. Does it still run if I still run it on Next.js? Okay, now React and Nest. Nest is built on React, right? The syntax is the same. Most the things that is different is because React is more like a client component, right? But in Nest.js, you have some components that are by default. Nest.js components are server components, right? So for you to make them client components, you have to mark them on top by using use client. So now, and also apart from the Nest navigation, which is the route, right? The file route part. Uh, if I have a code in in React.js, right? Can I use the same code in Nest.js? I will say yes. I will say yes. If I design maybe a component in React.js, can I just copy it and bring it to Nest.js component? I will say yes. The only thing you just have to look out for is that if you use the hooks like use state, use ref, in that component you want to move from Nest.js to, from React.js to Nest.js, then it means that that component in the Nest.js, then you have to mark it as use client, right? So can I use what I design in React.js and move it to, in React.js and move it to Nest.js? Yes, why not? You can. So any other questions? Okay, now the system I used was arrow function and I mapped, yet it worked. I don't understand that question. Now the system I used was arrow function and I mapped. So can you explain that question more, Xavier? I need to understand the question. Excuse me. Xavier, can you expatiate on that question? I need to understand. I'm waiting for your question, Xavier. I do not understand that question you asked. Okay, maybe while we're waiting for him, what I actually want us to talk about today is how important it is for you to have and build your portfolio, right? So when I say portfolios, it means that if okay, we all know portfolio, right? Like growing up, there's this small box that it's actually called portfolio. In my part, what I meant was that I use arrow and mapped. Yeah, it will work. Oh, okay, 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 okay. All right, all right. So, the importance of you having portfolio. So now, when I say portfolio, like for example, yeah, I have my own portfolio, but even though it's so outdated now, the last time I updated it should be about 4 years ago, I think, right? But now, why is it important for you to have portfolio? If you are job hunting as a software developer, like you are looking for opportunities, maybe in a companies or maybe with a business. Uh, I wouldn't say best practice. He said is using arrow function the best practice. I wouldn't say best practice because if I say using arrow function is best practice, so how about the other function? Is it a bad practice? Uh, they have their uniqueness. Okay, give me a minute. I'm going to explain to you now. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Now, using arrow function or using a function that is not arrow function, both will say best practice. I will say best practice. But for each team you work in or on, there will be style of their writing codes, right? So the best thing to do is to have uniformity in the codes that you are writing, because if you have five people contributing to one code base, it's ideal for that code base to be the same, to be unified. So if I'm contributing to a code base now and you are contributing to uh, code base, right? And I'm using arrow function and you are not using arrow function, right? Our code can be messy and I may find it difficult kind of navigating your code. Or if we give the code to another person, right? It might be maybe how will I put it now? Not clean enough, right? So to unify the code base, so it's good for the entire member of the team contributing to that code base to use one single style, right? So, and also, I want you to know that there are caveats if you use arrow function and if you don't use arrow function. So maybe I can just give you one or two of them, right? I know that if you have, I think it's arrow function. I stand to be corrected. I will check it out now. That you cannot use it before it is declared. I think it's arrow function. If you use it before you declare it, it will throw an error. But the normal function, you can use it and declare it. So it depends on the use case, right? And also the team you are working in. So if your team is actually using arrow function, stick to it. If they are using the one that is not arrow function, stick to that. Don't try to do something outside what the team says it's allowed or it's our style. So because when you get into a team, your style now is no longer what you should stick to. You should stick to what the team seem best, right? So I wouldn't say using arrow function is best practice. It's just based on style that you want or the team determine. I hope I answered your question. Okay, I think I need to mention this as well, that when you use arrow function, it doesn't create their bindings, right? What do I mean by their bindings? Like you cannot use these keywords in arrow function, but you can use it in the other. I don't want to call it normal function because arrow function is not abnormal. So I will call it named function. So with the function keyword, right? function with a function keyword now. So it has its own binding, so you can use this keyword inside that function, but you can't use it in arrow function. So each of them has their caveat, but what determines the one you use is your style and the team you're working in. So using both of them is best practice. So I won't say using one over the other is best practice. So I believe I answered that question. Okay. All right. So, or there are other simpler way, cause we deliver. Yeah, I always say that developers, we are kind of lazy people, right? So I think the most elegant and for me way is just creating an arrow function because it makes it easier for me to by the time I want to it's just for me I just love arrow function and I know that most people as well maybe I don't know kind of like a choose arrow function over uh, the other function, which is not arrow function. I'm trying. Wait, give me a minute. Let me just check what. I don't want to call it normal function. Regular, yeah, regular function, right? So it depends on your style and your team. So, any other questions? I will go straight up because we have like 7 minutes to go now. Based on what I was talking about, having a portfolio. So now, each of the project you do in your journey as a software, as you learn as a software developer, you are supposed to document them, right? When you document them, as you progress, this also will tell you how you are actually improving, right? And should you want to apply for a job, okay, for example, now, if you have not had any chance to work on any live project, but what you are doing is that you're doing some practice, maybe building some recipe, building some to-do list app, building this and building that, you should document those. Those are the things that made up your portfolio. Okay, those are those are the projects that will make up your portfolio, right? So should you now apply to or want to apply to a place for a job, these are the projects you are going to show them. I've done A, B, X, Y, and Z, right? So that will show what you are capable of doing, right? So having that portfolio is very, very important. So I want to believe that. But if you worked on if you because there are some jobs that you apply to, what they are actually interested in is what experience do you have in life environment, right? Because working in a environment is not the same thing as practicing. I need to emphasize that there are two different things. But does it mean that if I've not worked in life environment, does it mean that I cannot apply to any job? Yes, you can. So, but you need to have your portfolio ready. It's your portfolio that is going to be like your ID card now, because the the good thing about this industry is that they are not interested in how old are you, where are you located, as long as you can deliver the job, right? So they are cool with it. So your portfolio now, if you have not worked in any live environment, your portfolio now is what is going to tell what you can do. So now the task I'm going to give us today, you might not be able to work on it yet, but just Google software developer portfolio template so that you will know what and how you want to pattern and design your own portfolio, right? Should you get to that stage when you need to design your portfolio. So, but it's very, very important. So it's like there's some when you submit your CV for a job, they don't look at your CV. They ask for the link for, to your portfolio, right? And if you've not had real life experience, you can say, okay, if you say, okay, I've worked with, they don't expect you to put, if you've worked with company A, B, C, and Y, they don't expect you to have those companies' website in your portfolio. No, but that is those are life experience. But if you do not have any of them, any of life experience, you're just learning, you're just starting your journey. Yes, you can still apply for job, but you need to keep your portfolio so intact for you to be able to say, okay, I've done A, I've done B, I've done Z, right? In which you'll be able to show off, right? You'll be able to show off as what you are capable of doing. And from each portfolio, whosoever that want to access you will be able to say, oh, okay, this person can do things like this person can do things like this person can do things like this. So in your journey, your portfolio is very, very, very important. So do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Or do we have anybody here with his or her portfolio yet? Okay, we have like 3 minutes to go. We are going to take questions based on what we talked about, or if you have any other questions, um, let's talk about it. Okay, so Xavier is working on his portfolio. Perfect. Okay, guys, it is very important. I want you to take it as how will I put it? It is as important as what you are learning that you need to have your portfolio to be able to track your journey as you progress, right? Apart from showing it off, you'll be able to also measure your progress. Is Git okay? Can stand as our developer portfolio? No, it cannot. Your GitHub is different from your portfolio, right? Yeah, there are people that recruiters that want to see your GitHub. Your GitHub, because it's version control, it tracks how often you write codes sometimes. So they want to see how active on GitHub. Yes, they can. But does it replace your portfolio? No. But in my journey as well, in my journey, what I did in creating my portfolio is that I don't know if I can still see my portfolio. I had to make my portfolio looks like my GitHub. I design it myself. It looks like my GitHub page. Let me see if I can. I'm not sure if I can see that portfolio now. It's not close. I will have maybe I will if I see it, I will share it in the group. So it's my GitHub page. So I mimic my GitHub page as my I designed it in React as my portfolio with my project inside of it. So your GitHub cannot replace your portfolio. Your portfolio is very, very important. Thank you for that question, Akolade. Any other question? Okay. If there are no questions, we are 1 minute. Okay, we are 4 minutes into 9:30. Okay, let's just give. Okay, I see questions. Sometimes I find it difficult to understand React.js doc and Next.js doc. It's in your own way. How do you read such doc? and understand. Okay, fine. Now, in reading document, this is how you can actually read document and not get lost in the document, right? Because most of this document, because of too much information, it's easier for someone to actually get lost. So this is what I do. For example, if I want to do maybe a Next.js, now let me take Next.js for example. I want to do embedded route, dynamic route. That's a better example. If I want to do dynamic route in Next.js now, for example, let's assume I do not have understanding what dynamic route is about. So what I do is that I dive into the documentation and try to search dynamic route, right? The moment I see the dynamic route and I see the explanation there, right? And I see, okay, you need to do A, B, and C for you to actually get your dynamic route working. That is what I want. That is why I went. And now I got it. I will leave. Right. Because sometimes when you read this documentation, this is why you are here, you read this, then it links to another thing. You now want to follow up, right? Then you now want to follow up, then you now want to follow up. So now I go into documentation for specific reason, except if I'm not getting the concept in that documentation, then I go search online, right? I go search online what and how can I do this. This is what I'm seeing in the documentation. Then this is what I'm seeing online. Then I put them side by side for me to be able to understand. But I must tell you, you can don't even attempt to do it like read documentation back to back. No, don't try to do that. If just go inside the documentation to understand the concept you are not understanding, then what is in and out. So once you understand that concept perfectly, then practice the concept. Then if you need to understand another concept, go into that documentation, understand the concept. Then if you're not getting it, then you can then go online to search so that you can understand the concept perfectly. So I don't know if I answered that question correctly. So reading documentation can be confusing. Sometimes, don't let me say most of the times, sometimes. But the only way to get better of it and best of it is for you to just get in and out of it. So you go there for specific reasons. Then once you get why you are there, then you get out. Any other questions? Our time seems to be up now. Okay, fantastic. All right. So I will say thank you everyone for coming on this morning. I know it's supposed to be your weekend. You're supposed to be relaxing, but I say that learning never ends. Okay, so the more we learn, the more we grow. Right. So it said the day you start learning is the day you start. Right. So thank you everyone for joining this podcast this morning. So we know that and we hope in the near future will be bigger than this. So see you again next week. Goodbye guys.